Nice. Very, very nice. The cosplay here is so incredible. I love seeing what you guys have come up with. You are beyond creative. My name is Stephanie Strickland. I work for KGW TV here in Portland, and it is my honor to be back on the main stage for the local Rose City Comic Con. You guys, give it up for the con. Woo! Now, we need to make sure that this panel wraps up on time, and Nichelle is a tiny bit delayed, so I'm going to bring Walter out first, and I'm going to ask you to cue yourselves up at these microphones. You can start doing it right now because my goal is to let you guys ask as many questions as you would like. Someone's already in line, guys. Let's do this. I'm not kidding. Get going. Otherwise, you're not going to get your question in. Walter Koenig, come on out. I'm shaking. I'm so fangirly right now. This is so awesome. I'm going to go ahead and start, Walter, by starting with you over here on this mic. You get the first question, sir. Take it away. Is it on? Just yell.
So my question for Walter is, have you seen the two new Star Trek films? And if so, what is your opinion? And have you gotten to meet Anton Yelchin yet and give him any advice on the Chekhov rule?
Let's turn the mic levels up, if we could, please, on the two mics in the back. It's really hard to hear.
I
Thank
think
you.
it's on now. Yeah. I did get to see both of the J.J. Abrams movies, if that's what you're asking me, and I enjoyed them thoroughly. I think for those of us who expect to see the 1960s reincarnated, I think it's. I don't think it's a fair assumption that that's what you're going to get to see. This is, after all, 50 years later. Filmmaking is different. The voice of the filmmakers has changed, and if you go in with the attitude that you're not looking to find fault in the canon, Star Trek canon, but going in to enjoy a product that is made in the second decade of the 21st century, you enjoy it. I had a great time. I thoroughly. I didn't know what to expect. I was actually prepared to feel somewhat jaundiced about how they've interpreted Star Trek. But I had a good time. It's 2015 or 2012, whenever the first one came out. And it was great fun. Anton is a terrific young actor who played Chekhov, a very bright young man, is a movie star. I mean, Star Trek notwithstanding, he's a movie star. He's done several feature films, played the title role. Very pleasant, very bright, and it was a treat meeting him.
Hey, Walter, guess who I found? Now listen, I'm also going to ask you guys who are queued up at the microphone, one-part questions. No three-parters. No, we've got a lot of people, and I really want you to have a chance to answer questions. So work on stringing it together into one question for me, please. It is now my distinct pleasure to bring out Nichelle Nichols.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you all.
Now, we are all together. I'm going to go to this side of the stage here and let you ask your one-part question. Please take that microphone. It's all you. It's on. We hear you. I know. I know. You could do it. Otherwise, I got to go over here so everyone can. So
How
sorry.
do you guys stay so beautiful?
How do you stay so beautiful? Is the question.
Well,
He takes pretty pills.
That was a great question. Thank you. Let's go over here.
Yes, this is for Ms. Nichols. I was wondering what it was like to meet Dr. King. He's kind of a historical figure for me. He died before I was born, so I was wondering what it was like to meet him. What kind of a person was he?
Wondering what it's like to meet Dr. King. It's a little hard to hear up here if it's possible to boost those mic levels.
Can you
Yes, what was it
repeat
like
the
to meet
question?
Dr. King?
Yeah, and she had more on her question.
He was just wondering, given the historical significance of it,
Okay.
your role at the time, how he really helped sort of launch things for you and convinced you to stay with Star Trek.
Dr. King, Martin Luther King Jr., was one of the most dynamic and important people to be born in this time because he brought with him an attitude and information that he gathered over the years that we didn't give much attention to. And it made it so new for so many people. And it brought so many people together. This is very strange.
I know.
Mike.
It's normally there's the sound person that's sort of
Yeah.
just holding. But we do hear you though. That's good.
But he was a wonderful, incredible man. He had a great sense of humor, which nobody seems to know about. But he was very, very serious about who we are and who we are to each other and where we're going in this world and how it is we, each and every one of us, that makes a great difference and makes a beautiful difference in this world. I loved him so much. I was so proud to be called a friend of his, much less a follower, which I was happy to be. And Martin Luther King gave so much of himself, and he was such a brilliant man. I'm very proud to have known him.
Thank you. That's a beautiful answer. Gives me the right kind of chills. Right? Can you even talk through that? Do I hear you?
Dingy.
No.
I flew in from Miami, and I think I wore the wrong outfit here. First, I want to say this is amazing. I mean, look at the draw you guys bring. You know, that's all love right there, okay?
It's love. It's love return.
Yeah, my
It's
question
love
is...
return. I'm so proud and so grateful to have that love come to me and be able to return it.
My question is for Mr. Koenig. I saw on your Twitter page that you had a lot of different projects you're still working on. And at 5:30 today, you have a panel, and I just wanted to know what it's about. What kind of project is it?
Yeah, it's. I shot it in Portland. It's only my part is only the last 10 minutes of the film, but it's a comedy, and from what I've seen of it, it's quite good. It's quite delightful. No, really. Woo! We fight goblins in this, and I'll just give you one. There's just one moment that how I'm introduced. I don't know if these main characters are astronauts or they're some kind of adventurers, and they enter an enchanted valley, and it's run by goblins. And the goblins are great. They got great hand puppets for this, with a lot of expression. And one of the characters, one of the astronauts, is a young, and I emphasize that, Russian. Okay. And when they enter this valley, he has to go to the bathroom, and he goes behind a tree, and when he reappears, it's me. So I'm the Russian for the last 10 minutes of the film. And I get to behead a couple of goblins and stuff like that. But by all means, if you have the time, come by and see it. It's made by one of your own. People who live in Portland. In fact, the young man who was my I'll try to keep this short. The young man who was my contact wanted to be a filmmaker all his life. His name is Nick, and he had $10,000, and he decided to make a movie. Well, obviously, you can't make a movie for $10,000. You can take a trolley for $10,000. So he decided, well, in order to become a filmmaker, he had to have another job. So he went back to school, got a degree in law, and is an attorney. And is an attorney who represents people who are disadvantaged in some ways. So I'm proud of him just on that basis. But that was the way he was able to finance the movie, by becoming an attorney. You're going to hear a lot more from him, and hopefully he'll be here to introduce the picture.
Great question. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for coming. I'm very excited to see both of you. My question is, I've just seen Star Trek Gods and Men this year, and I think it's wonderful that you two performed in what is essentially a fan film. So could you talk a little bit about what that experience was like and why you did it?
Gods and Men. Gods and Men. Talk about it. Remember that movie? No. Okay. It's the one that we did with Doug and what? You don't want to do it? Oh.
Could you tell us, please?
How about this? They're going to discuss this. Can we table your question for a minute?
Got it.
Oh, wait.
We almost got it.
Yeah. Just so I know, what is your question coming up? We'll get this sorted.
My question is, because Nichelle is someone who has done almost everything from working with Dr. Martin Luther King
Gods
to
of Men.
singing, to singing with Duke Ellington and going to space this week. Is there anything else? Is there anything you haven't done that is still on your bucket list that's coming up next?
There are quite a few things that I haven't done, but I won't tell you about them until I'm done.
I like that answer.
But what was the other question?
Gods of Men, and you guys were having a discussion about the movie.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, that is your answer.
Okay.
This jacket, thank you very much. This jacket was a gift from NASA to you from Sophia, the flight that she took, which you can learn more about on her Twitter account, which is Uhura is. Does someone know it off the top of their head? Because I do. It's Uhura is. I'm going to figure it out. Oh, it's Nichelle is Uhura. So anyway, her fun meter is set to
Guilty.
Is set to guilty, aka max. Let's go ahead and take your question over here.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming out. It's an honor to meet you guys. I've been a fan for a really long time. I feel like I've gotten to know you guys pretty well on TV and through all your movies. But I'm curious, what was Gene Roddenberry like as a guy who stayed off screen a lot? What kept him motivated after CBS canceled the original series and he was able to go on to make such a such a beautiful NBC. I'm sorry. What kept him motivated? What enabled that genius within him?
Gene Roddenberry was a genius.
He was.
And he shared it with everyone. He didn't want to be known as a genius. He wanted to share everything that he knew and loved and felt about Star Trek, about people in general, about himself, his family, your family, our family. He was an incredible man, and don't get him started, like don't get me started. Don't get him started on any subject that he loved and that you were interested in. He could take you to the nth degree and bring in things about it that you never knew existed. And he loved people, and he loved to share. And I loved him, and he loved me. It was that kind of wonderful relationship that you don't see very often or appreciate very often. So I had a great deal of respect for him. Gene Roddenberry was a great man.
Walter, what was your take on Mr. Roddenberry?
Oh, I hated him.
I love him.
Gene was a good guy. I didn't know him that well. He came to the set occasionally, and was always fun for him to be there. He was supportive. He had a very strong sense of integrity. And he walked away from a couple of shows because the network had backed down on what they said they would do, and he simply gave up the shows rather than genuflect to the edicts of network executives who are known to, in many cases, to have very limited capacity for intellect,
This is my guy. This is my guy right here.
Thank you.
That was great. Thank you for your question. And thank you guys for coming up with the one-part questions. It's so nice to be able to get to so many of you. You're up. Go ahead.
My question's for Walter. What was it like to go from playing a good guy like Chekhov to an evil son of a bitch like Bester?
I'll tell you what it was like. I'll tell you
I truly resent that. Chekhov was not a good guy. There was 15 years or something between playing Chekhov and playing Bester. So it wasn't a matter of overnight I had to change persona, and change character. And we're actors. We're supposed to be able to do that. We're supposed to be able to play one character and then play another character, and usually in a far shorter period of time than I was able to transition from Chekhov to Bester. I thoroughly enjoyed playing Bester. Character was focal to the stories, pivotal to the stories that he was in. He was dimensional. There was more substance to him. I loved working with that whole crew. They were all very nice people. Nichelle, of course, was my darling, as was she everybody's. I think that makes sense. When we did Star Trek. But there were some people in Star Trek.
What did he dare say?
I don't want to talk about who.
What did you dare?
That's funny. We'll take your question over here.
I would like to know what it feels like to watch the actors in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek play you, basically. I mean, does it feel weird, or are they different enough from the characters that you played that it doesn't feel like it's you, or?
When you see
the lady who played Uhura in in J.J. Abrams movies,
Yeah.
how did it affect you seeing her play the part?
Who? It was, it was it was one of the good times in which I had a part on television, and where the director, producer, writer, whatever, came up to me and asked me how I felt about it. Of course, I only created the character. So, but that doesn't make much difference to so many of them. But with us, with Abrams, it was everybody wanted to know what was on your mind. In other words, what's on my mind, not just telling me what was on my mind or what my character was about. They allowed me to have information about the character and then create the character from there. And that's what I found both challenging and rewarding, that you got to live in that character for real, and that it was yours. And it was yours. If you wanted to know anything about her, you come and ask me.
I like that.
And that the director
That's
was like
that's
that,
good.
the producer was like that, and the writer was like that. So I really loved it.
If it couldn't always be like that. Walter, what's your take on this?
On what? What exactly?
Watching J.J. Abrams and how essentially, he's recreated these characters and what you see when you see them on the screen.
Yeah. Well, I thought I sort of answered that right at the beginning. I went in apprehensive. I was truly apprehensive. I stood on that line and think, how am I going to respond to seeing a whole new group of people playing the characters we played, and particularly playing Chekhov? I said, am I going to, be immature and look for faults? Yeah, well, he didn't do that right, or was I going to be able to sit back and evaluate what I was watching in a more objective way? And much to my pleasure, I was able to sit back and thoroughly enjoy the performances. I enjoyed everybody's performance. I thought everybody was great. See, what the important thing for an actor in that situation, and it's a challenging situation for all of them, because they are being judged against a standard that has been established and been in existence for so many years, for over 4 decades. And how much homage do they give, and how much do they play from their own personal experience? And ultimately, it has to be from them. It has to come from them. They're not up there to imitate us, They're up there to contribute their perspective, their view, their experience, and still make us feel that there is some relationship to the characters that, as we played them so many years before. And I think they all did a marvelous job. You knew that they were playing Scotty and Spock and Kirk. At the same time, you were seeing a whole new dimension to these characters, because the people who came to them, with their own perspective on life. And I thought everybody did a wonderful job. And Anton, who played Chekhov, I thought was equally as charming and delightful and not as my character.
Just a little bit
but
less.
as the other characters, as the other actors.
That's good.
As the other actors in the show. Very quick, brief story about Anton. I met him while they were shooting. They were wrapping it up, and I was invited down to the set. We had talked for about 2 hours, and he was very nice and very respectful, and it was a delight to meet him. And he's already done several movies, Terminator and a bunch of other films, and then we went to the premiere, and enormous reaction, and then there was a big journalist, all the journalists came, and hundreds of people were there in this parking lot where the after party was held, and he was surrounded, as well he should have been, and I was walking on the periphery, and he saw me way in the background and said, Walter, I have my own action figure.
That's very, very nice. Go ahead.
This is not much of a question as it is a statement. First of all, Nichelle, I am so honored to meet you. I have been a severe Trekkie since I was 7 years old, so for the past 23 years, oh my God. First of all, I am so happy that you are well from your stroke. I'm very happy that you are able to be
What
here.
stroke?
You have been an
Thank you
inspiration.
so much.
You've been an inspiration to me, knowing that your character has, even though you described her as a glorified secretary, you got to understand that in some aspects, with you being the way that your character was, you started to broker peace between the Klingons and the Starfleet. If it wasn't for you knowing Klingonese, Starfleet would have been totally screwed. Secondly, to Walter. I hope
Wait a minute. You don't get away with it that
This will be the
fast.
only two-parter because that's good. Go ahead.
What you were saying is partly right and mostly wrong. Uhura knew her. She came from a part of the globe that acknowledged women's intelligence. And as we do. And it was a wonderful thing to be able to play a role and be expected to bring something to the role, such as we're talking about. And so I had a great deal of fun bringing to my director, to the producer, to the creator, ideas that I had about Uhura. And oddly enough, wonderfully enough, Gene Roddenberry, whomever it was, they would say, I like that, let's work on it. And then the next thing I knew, Uhura had grown some. So I enjoyed that very much because it gets very boring playing a role that just says yes sir, no sir, aye sir. and that's why I think that Star Trek had the quality and the attraction that it had, because it wasn't just about one person or one thing. It was about our galaxy and all the people in it, and those we haven't met yet and have yet to meet and have yet to give and take. So it's a beautiful, beautiful opportunity for an actor to play, in something that you could use your own brain and bring to the role, and not be told to, that's fine, let's go to the next person, actor. Among us actors, we got together and talked about what something meant, the next thing meant. So it was for me a wonderful experience working with my fellow actors and some of the finest directors on the planet in the business.
And then you wanted to say something for Walter real quick.
And to Walter, I just got to say one thing. I've been dying to say this for the past 20 years. Where are the nuclear vessels in Alameda?
He doesn't know.
The nuclear what?
Nuclear vessels.
That's very funny.
I'm going to assume that's a rhetorical question.
Yes. Thank you very much. That's awesome. We'll take it over here.
Hello, thank you very much, both of you, for being here. It's amazing to meet you guys. My question's a little bit lighter. I just wanted to know, what's the funniest thing that you remember happening on the Star Trek set?
Certain people showing up.
That's a mic drop right there. That's a mic drop.
Thank you, I can die now.
All right, let's take it over here.
Thanks, Steph, for hosting. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Walter and Nichelle, thank you for being here. It's a great honor for all of us that you guys are here today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Question for both of you: what was it like when you got the call for the Star Trek movie after being off the air for so many years? What was it like to get that call, to get called back to the set for the movie?
Paycheck. No, hopefully getting to, for me, getting to add to the character that prior to I hadn't been able to. It was just hailing frequencies, open captain, and pressing buttons. But I really enjoyed developing the character as the other characters developed it. We enjoyed that very much.
Getting the call for the Star Trek movie was a really a long process. We actually went in I think 1970. 74 or 75 for costume fitting for another Star Trek television series. I went in, I was measured for my costume. I went home, and they told me that they'd canceled the plan, to have a movie. And that went on periodically over the next 3 years, where they had all these false starts. And I'm of a cynical enough disposition to begin to believe that it ain't never going to happen, And then finally we had this big breakfast for all of the media, where it was announced that we were launching this grade A movie, this A movie as opposed to a B movie, which was their original thought. Well, the original thought was another series, and then it was a B movie, and then it became an A movie. And Mr. Shatner got up, and he introduced everybody to all the journalists, all the reporters. And it was a wonderful, inspiring moment. And I just want to recreate it for you.
Oh, boy.
Because he said, and over here we have Jimmy Doohan, who's playing Scotty. But he was very, yeah. And here we have DeForest Kelley, who's playing Dr. McCoy. And of course, Leonard Nimoy is playing Mr. Spock. And George Takei is playing Sulu. And Nichelle Nichols, who is playing Uhura. And my hand to God. And over here we have Chekhov.
I'm glad I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
I just said, what did he say?
I love that. That's amazing. Yep. Go ahead, your question.
Okay, you, what did he say?
You just, yeah, it goes to show the longevity of the series and the fact that all those false starts did pay off into something spectacular that brought people right back to it and a whole next generation of fans, right?
This is true.
Let's take your question over here.
Hi, I've got so much that I could say, but first I just want to say, Miss Nichols, you're absolutely beautiful, and I want to thank you.
Whoever's talking, please raise your hand.
He's right over there.
I think I love you.
I just want to say thank you for giving me and my grandparents, they were former sharecroppers from Louisiana, a common ground when I was a very young child because they wanted me to see you on television. And thank you for that, because none of us knew what was going on, but we knew we liked it.
Thank you so much.
And Walter, I just want you to know that my grandmother loved Chekhov the most because she thought your accents were similar.
And she was from the South too, right?
I'm sorry, I actually do have a question. As young actors just getting into the Star Trek, I'm sure you had no idea where the show was going to go or if it was going to be successful. But in those early days, was there ever a moment where you thought, people are not going to believe this? What are we doing?
Not even once.
Wow.
I knew that this show was going to be received, not to the magnitude that it became, but I said, finally, we have something that as actors can really get their teeth into, that you're just not saying yes or no, sir, or, move the clock. It was a reality to it. There was a storyline, and you understood it. People felt for it, felt what was going on, and knew that the writers were writing not for themselves, but for you. And it told itself, too. It showed that was true. I really enjoyed 1,000,000% being in something as well done as Star Trek.
My reaction, please.
Please,
I didn't come on.
Please don't help him on. You don't have to live with him.
I didn't come on till the second season. So I was flipping the channels one day, and I saw Star Trek, and I said, "Styrofoam rocks? Really?" So I had no inkling or belief that we were ever going to go beyond first the second season, and then the third season, and then that was it. I mean, Gene Roddenberry called us all, and he said to me, it's been nice working with you. Hope we can do it again sometime. And I said, sure. That's what everybody says. And I assumed that was the end of my association with Star Trek, as did most everybody. I don't care what people say now, but at the time, we all believed, maybe with the exception of Jimmy Doohan. He kept saying, yeah, we're going to come back. We're going to come back. But the rest of us, there was a pallor, there was a gloom on the set during the last days of the third season. And we were kind of walking through it. And I think the most the most representative incident or anecdote that spells that out is the fact that they did an episode called "And the Children Shall Lead," and they brought in an attorney to be the guest star, and he was dreadful. He was, "Now, children, we are here," and he wasn't an actor. He was a very well-known attorney. But I thought that was raising the white flag. That was saying, well, we're done. I'm going to do a favor to a friend of mine. And I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that the show had capitulated to that extent, that we weren't fighting to the very last moment to bring the very best we could.
An interesting answer. We are at just a few minutes left in this panel, so it's possible that your question may be the last question. We'll just see. So stand tight for me there, but I don't think we'll get to you folks in the back. I do apologize. Go ahead.
Actually, no question. This is just building up in my heart for years, and once in a lifetime opportunity to tell you both thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Live long and prosper. Thank you. Thank you.
It's your lucky day. Thank you.
All right. Well, first off, I just want to say I didn't start watching the original series until I was a teenager, and then I started watching the first episodes, and I was like, "Where's Chekhov? There's something wrong here." But my question was.
So did I.
Yeah. But my question was, which of the original cast did you enjoy working with most?
Well, clearly for them, it's each other.
Every time we looked in the mirror. Hailing frequencies open, Captain.
That's such a good answer. You get a question.
Was Nichelle ever offered a contract for singing? She had such a beautiful voice.
A contract where?
For singing.
But
an
like
album.
anywhere?
Was a record label ever approaching
Oh.
her for an album?
Oh, yes, I did. But in the show, they came to me when they discovered I was a singer, and they started writing me singing in the show itself. And that got a lot of attention outside of just the show itself. And so I got quite a few. And I did contract with who the hell was that? Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, we put out a couple of albums and a couple of singles, and they went very, very well. And I thank you all for that.
All right. Now, right before we wrap this up, I'm going to ask you to scoot down so I can take a picture with the both of you, because I'm on the stage and I get to, damn it. No, I can do this better. We can all pile in. You see us right there? Okay, smile. Yeah, stick him in the middle. Here we go. Yay! Give it up. Give it up for these two right here. Standing ovation. Very nicely done.